Hey, welcome to another edition of FTU Life After the Military. I'm Tony Rodriguez. I'm your host. Today, I'm joined by my good friend Brandon. Brandon and I served together out at Camp McCall as part of the assessment and selection crew for civil affairs. And Brandon is right in the middle of his transition, getting out of the military. He is sporting a magnificent mustache for the month of November. And Brandon, I'll pass it on over to you.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. You really haven't changed much. You do look happier. I've really never seen you smile this much, so I think that's a testament to how you feel after completing, something that you wanted to complete and move on to some things that you just want to do for yourself and, live life the way you want to live it instead of being directed or whatnot.
Like I told you, so for those of you who don't know, it's Monday, the day after it's Veterans Day, and Brandon was free all day, and he asked, what time did I want to do this? I said after 11, because I sleep in now, which I hadn't done in 22 years. Because I had a million things to do every day, even on my days off. So Brandon was gracious enough to agree to do this later on in the afternoon.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I like sleeping too, but I don't know. My body just doesn't let me for some reason. Maybe it's going to take me a while so I get out so I can sleep till 11. I don't know when that's going to be, but so I'm free on Mondays. I'm currently utilizing the career skills program and attending a 10-week CDLA training program at FTCC in Fayetteville. And what's good about the program that I'm in is it's one of the only CDL training programs near us that still trains in manual transmission. I don't expect everybody to understand all of this, but what that means for me is I won't have a restriction on my license, and I'll be able to go wherever and drive whatever.
And CDL, that's big rigs, right?
For those people commercial driving license, so the combination trucks, the tractors that are hooked to the big trailers. So if y'all are out in Fayetteville and you see a FTCC 53-foot trailer that says student driver, look for the mustache. It might be me driving it. Give me a honk. But yeah, I decided to go this route. My father drove trucks, and it's something I've always wanted to do, but I took a different direction and stuck out the military. So now that I'm transitioning and getting close to being finished with my 20 years, I took advantage of it, and it's also paid for. I think it's going to cost me, when it's all said and done, maybe about $100 out of pocket, and that's to include the physicals you have to take, the endorsements, and everything. Because the school also helps us get some scholarship money out of the deal as well.
So how did you find out about this? I've heard people talk about it, but I don't know how you would even approach this.
Yeah, so honestly, what I would suggest is, take your transition serious. I found out about this through the SFL TAP program, the Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program. You may feel like, they're just going to tell me, this is what you have to do. I already know what I'm doing. I got to fill out paperwork, transition. I know what I want to do after, but take that last 24 months of your career. You don't want to be, looked at as shaman or whatever, but it's your time. Take care of yourself. Go to those briefings, even if most of what's going to be covered in that briefing. There's either going to be somebody in that room attending it that knows something you don't, or you're going to be able to help somebody out through your own experience. And so I found out, the military has a lot of partnerships with different organizations to help you with your transition, whether that be you want to go be an IT professional, or you want to drive a truck, or you want to be a welder or whatnot. There's a lot of different things you can do with your transition, and it's free to you. It's mostly free to you, and you also get to do that during your transition. Luckily for us in special operations realm, we have a lot of support when it comes to our command, supporting what we want to do with our transition. Because I've met a few soldiers recently, one that was in my class, that their first sergeant still wanted them to come to formations. And it's like, we're in class Tuesday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So the director, he emailed the sergeant major. He's like, no, that's not happening. So, we're lucky in that aspect.
Yeah, so I heard there was actually one unit in the 82nd who, I forget which battalion it was, but they were putting together a board, like a Soldier of the Month board or a promotion board. And so you had to go before the board and present your case, and your platoon sergeant had to go with you and say how they were going to be able to mitigate the problems with you being gone. And I think that's a joke. I think it's shameful. I think it's embarrassing. So you need to tell me, battalion commander, that this one young E5 is the only thing that's holding together your entire unit, that if they're not there, it's going to completely and totally fall apart. You should be removed. Your sergeant major should be removed. Platoon sergeant, company commander, first sergeant should all be removed if you guys can't figure it out. If you have a young 22-year-old E5 or whatever age they are that is holding your entire unit together.
Yeah,
you're saying you're leader of men and we're going to go over to combat and you're going to lead us to victory, but you can't figure this out.
Yeah, that's
choke yourself.
He's got 10 years in the military, and he already has a job lined up, to transition and continue on with his civilian life. And like, hey, we really need you to pull this duty or that duty. As a matter of fact, our first day, I met the kid. He hadn't been to sleep. He was coming off a 24-hour CQ duty. And I was like, are you serious? We're here to learn how to drive trucks, and you haven't even been to bed. Like, come on, that's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer.
I could imagine somebody driving down Skybo and they've been awake for 24 hours.
And then they were like, hey, we're going to, eventually we're going to be going down Yadkin. I'm like, no, no thanks. But yeah, I'm honestly, like, communicate early and often. I had this plan for a while. I had the paperwork signed by command, 6 months before the class even started. Before I even had retirement orders, they knew what my plan was, and they gave them time to, plan manpower issues as well, right? So communicate early and often and say, hey, this is, I'm getting out, whether that be ETS, retirement, med board, and if you're going through a med board, you can use the career skills program more than once. A lot of people don't know that, but if you're retiring or ETS and you can use it once, and it's up to 180 days, so 6 months out, you can do an internship, OJT, apprenticeship training, whatnot. There's a lot of different avenues that you could take, but it's really going to be on you. We can sit here and blame our chain of command and all that stuff too, but it's really on you to communicate that stuff and do your paperwork properly and dot your T's and cross your I's.
Yeah, and I just want to apologize. This podcast is about transitioning out of the military. I just find that now that I'm getting further and further away from my military career, I become more and more vocal about piss poor leadership, because now they can't threaten me with a general letter of reprimand or an Article 15. They have zero power over me, and I'm loving it. So I'm just a little bit more vocal about it. That's all.
No, that's awesome. I'm not saying nothing right now. Well, one, because I do have good support where I currently work and or where I currently lack of work. But they've supported me 100%. Like, hey, you've given us 19 and a half years. Handle your business. I'm not going to make you come in and do online anti-terrorism training or whatever that may be. Like, handle your business, because that's how I'm going to take care of my family. I'm not going to take care of my family by coming to your formations or point sitting at land nav or whatever. Like, that's not how I'm going to take care of my family. So luckily for me, I've got a good support system right now who are taking care of me. But I would be like you if you know me. Like, I'm not afraid to speak up. If things were different, then I may have a different tone right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I've mentioned multiple times, I decided to retire because the battalion commander, the sergeant major, the S3 sergeant major, and the company commander were all great. And it took 21 years to get to that point to have, and I knew that it was not going to get any better, that I had finally reached the promised land. So I had to get out while it was still good, because somebody's going to be replaced and it's not going to be as good. And so I don't know what it's like now, but that's not my problem. So I'm very grateful for those 4 individuals that were there. They made my life very easy in that last year and a half that I was in the military.
Yeah, I was just talking to a guy from work today, and he was telling me about this and that was going on, and this was stressful and that was stressful. And I was like, cool. Not my problem. I'm straight. But I'm here for an ear. You can call me and confess your sins or whatever, and I might be able to give you some words of advice, but you got to stick it out, man. Like, that's your job.
This program that you're in, will they help you find employment once you graduate? Because I'm not too familiar with it.
They do have. They're not really. They're not really like a recruiting mill or anything. There are some other schools you could go to, other truck driving schools that are like owned by different companies and have partnerships. Like, hey, we're going to give you a contract with this truck driving company once you graduate. The one I'm in, it's not really like that. They do bring recruiters in. They do give you advice. A lot of the guys there's probably only one instructor that is not prior military. They've all been in the military. They either retired or did some form of service. They have a lot of experience in the industry, so they're there to give you advice on what route you are thinking of taking, and then giving you the left and rights of that. Like, hey, I've experienced this or that, and we have recruiters come in from different companies to give their pitch or whatnot. Honestly, I think I'm the only one in my class that does not have like a specific company I'm going to work for yet. That's because I know I'm going to keep my options open, and I have a priority list of where I want to go and who I want to apply to.
So I know SFL-TAP. I've had people on here who it's been varying degrees of, I guess, success with SFL-TAP, right? But a lot of that has to do, like you said, with how much you put into it. Because I have to admit, I put in 10%. I'm just so upset with the military. Like, whatever, just let me out already.
The weird part about mine was, when I could first start using SFL-TAP, COVID was still an issue with in-person briefings and in-person, assistance. So a lot of my SFL-TAP was just some modules online, click, 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 like you do with your annual training. Like, I didn't pay attention to a lot of it, but what I did pay attention to were any timeline suggestions that they may or may not have had with, like, hey, you're 2 years out, do this. You're 1 year out, do this. You're 6 months out, do this. And then I did go to their VA benefits and services briefing. I will say that although sitting in there and listening to the person give their spiel, I probably took away, like the 10% that was beneficial to me.
Was it the very intense retired 92 series Sergeant Major?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's insane.
Yeah. Well, it started off with like, hey, we're looking for people. I'm like, no. No thanks. But there were some people in that room who have either been through the process of transition longer than me, or were almost done or whatnot, that had some good words of wisdom as far as if we had questions through that book that she was going through. But even to this day, some of it was beneficial as far as making sure you know how to navigate through the DS logon sites and being able to track your VA appointments and whatnot. For example, I was at school last week, and a soldier from where we used to work, from our brigade, showed up. He's like, "Hey, I'm transitioning. I'm in the class in January." And I was like, "Okay, where are you at in the process?" And he's like, "Well, I'm 6 months out next month." And I was like, "Well, have you requested your medical records? Have you started that?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh man." I'm like, "Here." I'm like, I don't know a lot. I'm not an expert, but you should probably do this within this next month, and it's going to help you with your transition. Because as well as I do, you have a window to file your BDD claim. And if you don't file it within that timeline, getting your rating is going to take even longer. If you wait until you're almost out, it could take, a lot longer than it should. Just little stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. So if you fall below that 90-day mark, then you just go into general population. You go to the end of the line. So, yeah, definitely. That's something that everybody should be aware of.
I was kind of surprised, but then I wasn't at the same time, because I knew where he was working, and I knew he was probably only worried about work. And that was his priority. His priority wasn't himself, which it should have been, especially when you're almost 6 months out from 20 years. Like, you probably should have been, pardon the swear words, like I was told by a sergeant major about 1.5 years ago in a briefing, sometimes you shouldn't worry about ending up as a shitbag, for lack of better terms, because you are a number, you're going to be replaced, you're not the end all be all, and no one's going to hold your hand and bring you to your appointments and tell you exactly what you have to do. You got to go seek it all yourself.
Yeah, no. So I always take things for granted. I always figure that people are like me. I never hide it that I got in trouble back in 2009 and got sent home from Paraguay for drinking. And so the unit and the Army started treating me like, when you're in the military, you're a second-class citizen, right? Because you're not a real person. You're a number, like you said. But when you get in trouble, like, you're worse than that. Like, you're, I don't know, a leper, right? Nobody wants to have anything to do with you. So I had to learn things on my own. And so when I transitioned out, I realized that the Army wasn't going to help me, because the Army's a big war machine. They have to prepare to fight wars. And once you decide that you're going to get out, you're no longer a priority. And so I had that mentality. So I make the mistake of assuming that everybody else is like that, when I know there are people out there who just, they live and breathe the Army. And
I wish I could tell more people, like, hey, you have to go do this yourself. No one's going to be like, hey, Sergeant Meredith, next month we're not going to have very many taskings or whatnot. You should go make these 3 appointments. No, you got to do that yourself. Like, you got to figure out what appointments you need to make. you got to figure out what tasks you need to complete before you get out. You got to figure that out for yourself. Like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was reaching out to people that I've met throughout my career that were either finished with the process, going through the retirement process or whatnot, or just beginning it, and picking their brains. Hey, what did you do here? What did you do there? As a matter of fact, I got a couple examples of, retirement request packets. And I filled out my stuff when it came time, sent it up, and I had no corrections. And that's like an act of God, like send something up and not get anything back saying you need to change this or you need to change that. Like, it's because I did my homework and I was like, okay, because if I don't hit this, then it's going to be another month. Because if you have to make corrections to something, it goes to the end of the pile. Like, you got to stay on top of your stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you're working to get your license, so you could drive. But did you take? There's a bunch of these different organizations. There's Hire Heroes. I still get emails from Recruit Military for their virtual job fairs and then their in-person job fairs. Whenever there's one up for Bragg, I get an email notifying me that it's there. And of course, Onward to Opportunity. Did you pursue anything with any of these organizations or something else?
Not really. I did do my homework as far as like learning what some of them do. And I have talked to a couple Hiring Heroes people about, like, they'll help you write a resume or whatnot. And I do follow certain websites and, like you said, get emails about Recruit Military and job fairs and stuff like that. It's not in my path, I would say, of the direction I'm taking after the military. I kind of have a set goal or path that I'm trying to take. But I can see a lot of those there are a lot of organizations that are, here to help transitioning service members, ease them into a life after the military. Because even though I have my ducks in a row, I'm going to the CSP program, I'm doing this and doing that, I'm not saying I'm not stressed. Like, there's some things I'm stressed about. Like, I have all these appointments I need to hit. Did I say the right thing to whatever doctor I was talking to? Or, is my claim going to be done in time? Enlisted military pay is not, we're not going to be rich. So I still got to pay bills after the military to take care of my family. So I would say to anybody that is transitioning, if you don't know what you want to do yet, that's fine. But look into the tools that are there for you. There are a lot of organizations, like you said, Hiring Heroes, Troops to Transportation is another one. You don't even have to do the route I'm taking. You can go to another program. I just chose this program for different reasons.
Yeah, no. So on one of my episodes, I was talking about how the day that you finally clear post, right, when you go for your final signature, and you pick up your DD-214, the last place you go is finance, right? So you could turn in your leave form. And then that's when that guy there tells you, hey, your retirement pay, there's going to be like a little bit of a lag, so you probably won't get it that first month. It'll probably be the following month. So budget wisely. I would assume that they would tell you this 6 months prior, not the day that you're signing out. But, that's the military.
Were you surprised?
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's the military, right? You decided you're going to get out. You're no longer priority. My big take was, look, guy, I get it. Like, you think you're a VIP because you work in this basement at Soldier Support Center. I just signed out of the military. You might want to be a little bit nicer because there's nobody here that can prevent me from coming across this table and punching you in the face. But that's who that guy is. So if you're going to signing out at Fort Bragg, just know that guy is a little twit.
Yeah,
So just have patience.
I don't have much left to do in uniform. I know that. I got to do my SBP election, but I think I could do that email. And then I got a CIF and clear. That's really all I have left.
So I don't know how it is for you, but for the SBP, I did everything over email, and then I had to go in to sign it and to do the initial review of my DD 214. But that was all in the last week before I was out.
Okay.
And then like 4 days later, I went and picked up my DD 214, and then that was it.
Yeah. I don't know when. I got a paper here somewhere with all my appointments. I just know in a week or two I have the SBP and it's separate from everything else. But I don't sign out until the end of January. It's like January 30th or something. So I'm ready.
So,
ish.
The resumes. I always like to talk about that. Have you started one? And if so, did you find it difficult translating military jargon into normal speak?
I have not done one. I know that's an issue. I know people don't understand that language. But I have a GED from Illinois, so I'm pretty sure if I take my time with it, I can and talk to your friends, talk to people who've done it recently, or on LinkedIn you get pretty sure you get a free year of LinkedIn Premium when you go to transition. So I know there's a lot of organizations and people on there that will help you, translate that terminology. And I'm pretty sure there's one, I don't know if it's the Hire Heroes one, but I'm pretty sure one of them you can send them your JST, your Joint Service Transcripts, and they will translate that for you, and then you can tailor it to whatever industry you're trying to pursue. I'm not really worried about the actual resume portion of it, because I kind of know where I want to go, and I know I don't really need that right now.
So that's a good point, because I was talking about how, like, when you get out of the military, first thing that happens. Hey, everyone. So this is where part one of my interview with Brandon ends, and I'll have part two coming up here shortly. Again, this is a holiday season, so please reach out to anybody who you think might be out there just a little lonely, a little depressed during this time of year. And, other than that, just remember that you are special. You do have something that makes you unique. Just make sure you identify what that is and maximize it so you can reach your full potential. All right. Take care of your mental and your physical health. Until next time, zot, 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 and roll tide.